At the end of the day, it's not even worth visiting if you want to enjoy yourself. As an American who has just spent over a month in the country of South Africa, visiting both Johannesburg and Cape Town, today I'm going to compare the two cities in 5 different categories to see which of the two makes the best city for you to relocate to. And before anyone says,
"You're only there for 1 month, what do you know?"
My name is No Limit Eddie. I'm a 25-year-old American who has been traveling and living abroad full time for the last 4 years. As my mom would say, I am true to this, not new to this. I have documented my entire travel journey here on this YouTube channel. If that's interesting to you, drop a like on today's video so YouTube recommends you more videos you'll love. The people. People play a large part in how much you enjoy a particular destination. And I can say, the way people treat you in Johannesburg and Cape Town are night and day. Let's start off with Cape Town. In that city, the native Cape Townians are very cliquish. They have their circle and they stick to it. When I tried to engage people casually while walking down the street, I was either ignored, brushed off, or if I was engaged, they did it in a way that kept it as short as humanly possible. I felt like I was back in Los Angeles, which is where I was born and raised. And that's not a good thing. I haven't gone back to LA in over 4 years for a reason. Another thing no one really talks about, but that you should 100% know, is that in Cape Town, there is a lot of men who cross-dress as women. Me, living in Egypt, a very conservative country, you're not going to see that at all. So when I did notice it in Cape Town, it was like quite bold and in your face. And that's something that you should know. Because on my channel, my belief is that you want to build the reality that you're happy to live in. Therefore, you should be able to know this information so you can determine if that's something you want to see or that you want your children to see in your day-to-day environment. People in Joburg, however, are 1,000 times more open and friendly. Me, someone who would describe myself as quite quiet or reserved, found myself saying greetings to people as I passed them on the streets, talking to my Uber drivers, having in-depth conversations, and even getting as many numbers as I possibly could from the South African women. Now, I said I'm a quite reserved guy, so there's just a special energy in the city of Johannesburg that allows people or makes people more social and more friendly. And while Joburg is definitely a more Western city than most other African countries that I tend to live in or visit, you can still feel the underlyings of a traditional African-like base. Now, if it were up to me and I had to give a point to which city I prefer, people-wise, I would easily give the point to Johannesburg. Poverty. One of the most stark differences between the two cities is the appearance of poverty. So I started off my journey to South Africa in the city of Johannesburg. And when I left the airport in the Uber, I was amazed. I saw Mercedes-Benz dealerships, nicely built roads, infrastructure that looked super modern. And as someone who travels in and out of African countries all the time, generally the drive from the airport, you see griminess, you see poverty, you see like shacks on the sides of the roads. But when I drove from OR Tambo Airport to my Airbnb, I saw wealth. And after being in the city for a while, I took a trip to an area called Bedford View, not too far from my Airbnb. And every car that I saw, well, every other car I saw was exotic. It was a BMW or a Range Rover or an Audi or a Maybach, right? It was honestly insane. And these cars were driven by black people. Now, I did run into an area or two that was a bit run down, but it was quite regular. On top of that, I saw a few homeless people, 1 or 2 here and there, but it was nothing compared to what I was used to seeing in Los Angeles. Now, I thought all of South Africa would be like Joburg, but the moment I arrived at the Cape Town International Airport, that all went out the windows. The drive from the airport to my Airbnb was filled with rows and rows of shanty towns. I ended up putting in the wrong address in my Uber to my Airbnb, and the area that I was in had my heart racing. I'm like, I know that I'm frugal, but I know I did not book in this area to save a couple of dollars. And so my first day in Cape Town, that whole vlog was quite wild. Definitely check it out. Now, the shanty towns that I mentioned earlier, they're not just by the airport. They're all over the city. And so are the homeless people. They were everywhere. I even saw some bathing in the ocean. And you know that stadium that everyone always shows, like in their thumbnails of the video, that I think they built for the World Cup? Well, that whole area was filled with people who were strung out on drugs, people having tents parked up on the side. It was like, what is going on here? People were coming up to me and begging for money inside of the mall. I can say that in Cape Town, it seems to be rich and poor. While in Joburg, there seems to be much more of a scale. Like there's people who are rich, people who are having a little bit of motion, people who are regular, and then you have the poor. I mean, of course, I have to give the point to the city of Cape Town. Psych, of course the point is going to go to Johannesburg. And by the way, if you've never seen such a raw and honest breakdown of the city of Cape Town, drop a like on today's video. Scenery. With one city hosting some of the best coastline in the world, and the other being completely inland, there is a major difference to the scenery of both cities. Cape Town is often voted the first, second, or third best city in the world by reputable magazines every year for a reason. The right hand of the Most High did not hold back when building out the city of Cape Town. I mean, everything from the bright blue waters, the tall and towering mountains you see throughout the entire city. I mean, even the way the city is planned is fantastic. And there was even so much of the city that I didn't get to see, like the vineyards and a beach filled with penguins. In Johannesburg, on the other hand, the natural beauty is less visible. The beauty from that city comes from the infrastructure, comes from the wealth that you see in the form of cars, in the form of houses, in the form of outfits, and it also comes from the beauty of the women. Joburg women are far more attractive than Cape Town women. Fight me on it. If I had to give a point to one of the cities for scenery, no doubt it goes to Cape Town. Things to do. The same way the landscape affects the scenery of the cities, the landscape also affects the activities you can engage in. Cape Town really offers you the best of both worlds. I mean, you have the nature element, so you can go for a hike, you can go for a swim at the beach, you can go parasailing over the ocean, and then you also are living in a city with 4 million people. So you get the best of the city life too. So you have the malls and the bowling alleys and the nightlife and the car scene and the dating scene. There's so much to do on both the nature element and the city element in Cape Town. Joburg is really just a city and they lean into that. So they have the biggest and the best amusement park in all of South Africa called Gold Reefs. I really want to go there because I haven't gone to an amusement park since I was like 12 years old. And so I'm due for a refresher. One of the things that I really like about Joburg is they have a ton of parks, right? And if you start to travel around Africa, a lot of times you realize there's no parks like we're used to, like where you can go and play basketball or soccer or football, or right. It's quite rare to come across those kind of things, but there are a ton of them in Joburg. But again, no doubt the point in this round is going to Cape Town. Food. When two destinations are going up head to head, one of the major deciding factors is food. In fact, food can outweigh some of the other points on this list. We've all traveled to the area that was a little bit dangerous to get the food we've been craving. Don't lie. Cape Town was rated by CN Travels as the best food city in the world. And if you're wondering who is CN Travels or you never heard of them, that is a great segue to the point that I want to make. You see, CN Travels is a very big publication. They own like GQ and Vogue. So I'm not questioning the validity of this rating. But what I am saying is the CN Travel magazine is far more snooty and snobby. Most people are not aware of it. And that is a vibe you get in Cape Town. The vibe you get when it comes to dining in Cape Town is like, babe, put on your nicest dress and some heels. We're going out to eat tonight. Or like you need a reservation a month in advance to have a table. That's the kind of vibe you have in Cape Town. And that makes sense because the most expensive real estate in all of Africa is along the coast in Cape Town. Now, again, Joburg has all of that as well. In fact, Joburg is home to more millionaires than there are in Cape Town. But that seems to be more of an exception versus a rule. You see, the scene in Joburg is a lot more calm and like home. So if I would compare it to like restaurants that you may know as an American, it'll be like Olive Garden, Lucille's, and Chick-fil-A even. Not saying that those are the restaurants you're going to eat there, but they have a similar vibe. Like, you don't have to dress up to go to Olive Garden or Lucille's. Now, these are not the cheapest restaurants in the world, but they also are not like a reservation required kind of spot. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, another thing around Joburg is the service is going to be better. As I was kind of like reading people's thoughts on this topic on a Reddit forum, the general sentiment is yes, you're going to get the 3-star Michelin restaurants and things like that in Cape Town, but the customer service will be unbearable, and most people found that they enjoyed the customer service in Joburg a lot more than they did in Cape Town. It just feels more like home. For me, and the stage that I'm in my life right now, Joburg just fits the bill better, so I'm going to give the point to Josie. However, depending on where you're at in your life, Cape Town may get the point. Like, this round could really go either way. But for me, Joburg just fits the bill better, so I'm going to give them the point. So after watching this video, you should have a much greater feeling around which city is right for you. I mean, me personally, based on my criteria, I'm going to give this point to Johannesburg. If you want to now know how to actually get a visa to visit the country of South Africa, well, watch the video that you see appearing on your screen right now.